And the CEO. If you're a CIO, it's no longer about the size of your data center, the number of employees under management, the MIPS under management. Nobody cares. It really comes down to what have you done for me lately? What have you done with this huge budget I've given you and all this infrastructure to help me grow my business? There's a profound effect happening with respect to modern CIOs. They're really becoming brokers of technology. The amount of processing power and data stored outside the data center is increasing each and every day. The modern CIO is making a different set of decisions. It's not about what application development project gets funded internally. It's, do I fund it at all? Do I buy it from the outside? Do I use a hybrid cloud computing environment? Do I use a managed service provider? Do you use a private cloud, a public cloud? How do I pay for that? And I think this is a fantastic time to help CEOs make those decisions. And it's not going to slow down. As a matter of fact, it's going to accelerate. Take a look at this data from Cisco. By 2020, there's going to be 50 billion devices connected up to our networks. Just to give you an idea how much that is, that's 6 devices for every single person on the planet. And boy, do they ever generate a lot of data. Just in the last year, we've generated 7.9 zettabytes. If we go on the same pace that we're on right now and apply that to the 50 billion devices that we're going to connect up by 2020, that turns out to be 35 zettabytes. 70% of this data is coming from outside of the enterprise. This is something we have to get a handle on. Now, it creates an incredible set of circumstances for the modern CIO. First, it raises the stakes on security and application management. When you have that many devices out there and all of your data out there, and your responsibility to the corporation is to make sure that that data is protected and that those applications work the way they're intended to, it becomes a difficult problem. Second, with infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, each and every one of us can get benchmarked each and every day by outside service providers. If our business doesn't like the applications we put in place, they have an opportunity to go buy them from someone else. How many companies do we know that have a perpetual licensed CRM solution and someone's went out and bought Salesforce.com in the company? Because if we're not providing the kind of services, the accessibility that our customers want, which is our users, they will go elsewhere. Now, you can look upon this as something negative, or you can embrace this change. I think it's the most important time to embrace these types of changes, because at the end of the day, the role of the CIO is going to change whether we like it or not. Turn yourself into more of a broker, making conscious decisions of what stays behind the firewall, what doesn't stay behind the firewall. Really wake up each and every day and think of, what am I doing that's driving value? How am I helping my CEO grow our business? And what it really comes down to is leadership. You really have to ask yourself the question, am I going to drive this change, or am I going to be driven by it? What I'd like to do this morning is I want to talk about 4 big disruptive trends that are affecting all of us. I want to talk about DevOps, I want to talk about mobility, I want to talk about SaaS, and I also want to talk about big data. These are 4 big disruptive trends that are affecting all of our IT infrastructures. We need to get a handle on it. And there is an incredible push of applications coming into our infrastructure. Some of them we control, some of them we don't control. And as I was preparing for this speech, I was doing a number of research papers, taking a look at what's going on in app development technology, talking to our own team, and I came across one that was called The Attack of the Planet of the Apps. This whole article was really talking about how for 35 years we mastered this waterfall technique of building applications. And if you take a look at over the last 4 or 5 years, the high velocity companies have moved to an agile development paradigm. And that's fantastic. The problem is the rest of the IT organization and the rest of the operations environment hasn't caught up to it. This whole concept of DevOps is becoming what I think the most important thing to application development. This is the whole idea of being able to build your application and have the opportunity to test it in a virtualized environment, put it in a continuous feedback loop, get information of how the application is running in real time, collect data, and improve it. We think we've got a multi-year start on this, and it really starts with our virtualization software. We currently have the ability to test applications and create a simulated environment. So when you're building an application, you have all of the inputs and the outputs, and they're simulated. We have the ability to take a look at that application and understand really how it's going to run in production. And if you take a look at the way things are done now traditionally, we build the application and 90% of the testing is done manually. Most of the quality testing is done with no performance information. With our simulation technology, we can build that in real time. And with our recent purchase of Nolio, we get into the situation where we can do continuous application development. So imagine the case where you've written an application and you want to test this application. You can go to a catalog, procure in real time what the production environment's going to look like. Make a few clicks, it gets started up in your data center. Your application runs in that environment. You use our APM solution to understand how it's performing in that environment. And then we're consistently collecting data from the development, the quality engineer, and how the application is running in real time, putting into a data repository and understanding how that application is working. We work with our developers and we build these applications on a beautiful, crisp 100 megabit per second network, and it would work fantastically. And then we drop it into production and we realize that the retailer has hundreds of stores with a 56 KB modem. And this beautiful graphical user interface that we built just gets clogged in the pipe. And the complaints hitting our help desk and the customer's help desk are going through the roof because the application won't start. Let's see how the application performs in there before we put it in production. This is going to have a very profound effect on how applications are built. And this is not something that's way out in the future. We have one of our customers, DirecTV, using this today. DirecTV uses our simulated software and our virtualization, and they've decreased the amount of time it takes to get their applications into production from a month, and in some cases with their mobile applications, days. We think that this is going to be a very big opportunity for us, and it's a very big opportunity for you in making sure that all of these applications that we're building get into production where they work the first time. The second big trend is mobility. There's been an explosion of devices, as we talked about. But don't you get the feeling you've kind of seen this movie before? Mobility is going to be similar but different. And it shouldn't mean we have to change the whole paradigm as we go to manage these millions and billions of devices. We've already got the infrastructure in place, so it's a natural extension of how we think about managing all of these devices. The real issue is the volume and the choices. In a study that was most recently done, most large companies believe that less than 10% of them are in control of the data that mobile devices connect up to. And you can really understand how that works. Think about it this way. How many of you really believe that your sales professionals are not putting their forecasts out onto SugarSync, Dropbox, or Evernote? They're probably doing it. Why are they doing that? Well, it's not unreasonable for them to be able to want to look at their sales forecast on their mobile phone, on their iPad, or their tablet, or their PC at home. This is not malicious. They just want to be more productive. We have to think of a way of securing all of this data, because at the end of the day, this bring your own device to work makes it extraordinarily difficult to manage all the data on those devices. And all it takes is one rogue device, and you happen to have your name on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. We've taken a very comprehensive view into mobile device management. And we're launching it here at CAWorld. Peter Griffiths is going to talk about it tomorrow in his keynote. You're going to be able to see the application out on the floor. And this is something that I think is going to be very special to us because it's also one of the first big organic engineering activities that we've done at CA in a while. This is going to be a very big part of our future, and we think it's one of the most important applications that everyone's going to need to manage these devices. Right off the bat, we have the ability to procure VPN connections, email, applications, and security. Over the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to be in a situation where we can manage all those applications and manage the devices. You're going to see continuous rollouts of new innovation coming out of our engineering labs, and this is going to happen on a very timely basis. And when you look at those applications, they're going to have the same kind of consumer look and feel, ease of use that you would expect from any modern consumer application. We're not stopping only with this mobile device management. Mobile device management is important across the board, and we're weaving in mobile device technology with all of our products. For some of you that have our Clarity product, we have this thing called Clarity Playbook, where this is a CIO's walking best friend. From a simple iPad user interface, you can see how your whole organization is running. You can see all of the metrics that are tracked in Clarity with the same kind of look and feel you would expect on an application that's on an iPad. Now, the third thing I wanted to talk about is SaaS. As George mentioned, I spent the last 8 years of my life building a SaaS company. It became the second largest SaaS company in the world next to Salesforce.com. And this is something that we learned a lot during the 8 years. One of the things I've learned is that there's a lot of different definitions for SaaS. And like we usually do in IT, we don't have common definitions for anything. And what I'd like to do is make sure that you understand how we think about SaaS. 25% of all application spending over the next couple of years is going to be in SaaS. Once again, in the same way we have to get a handle on how we manage mobile devices, in the same way that we have to get a handle on how we build applications, we have to get a handle on all of these SaaS applications that are going to be in our networks. We need to be able to take advantage of SaaS as well. Most people think SaaS means public cloud. That is an extraordinarily shallow view of the technology. SaaS doesn't necessarily mean the application runs in the public cloud. Many of the applications that you have today will never go to a public cloud. You wouldn't want to have them in a public cloud. The data that you have is too important to you. The way we're using SaaS is we're going to build it so you can run it behind your firewall. You can run it in a managed service provider. You can run it in our private cloud. Or you can run it in someone else's private cloud. And by the way, just because you made that choice in 2014 doesn't mean you should not be able to revisit that choice in 2016 or 2017. And the way we're making that happen is we're building our own platform. Every new application that we're building, and we've launched 3 this quarter alone, is using the CA platform. This means a common user interface. It means a compatible back-end database. It's separation of the data logic from both the user interface and the back-end. Opening up an integration framework because it would be extraordinarily arrogant of us to think that we have the only good solutions out there. Opening up this integration space allows us to connect with other great innovation, and it also allows us to connect up with a huge portfolio of products we have. It also sets the stage for data mining. This platform is available today. We're building our applications on it, and as we start rolling out more and more SaaS applications, it's going to be built on this common platform. If we're going to be dropping new releases in on a regular basis, it puts the onus on us to do a better job of describing what those applications are going to do and how they affect what you've already got. I think this is just an absolutely better way of developing software, and I've seen it in practice, and we already see what's happening. This is where the development spend is going. We need to have a perspective on this. We need to have SaaS products in place. And we need to put you in a position where you can get these new products and you're not orphaned on old releases. We are making a very heavy investment in this. The 3 products that we've launched in the last quarter, CloudMinder is available today, and that's a SaaS-based product that we've launched. We also have Application Performance Management, which we just recently launched, and NIMSoft Service Desk. Over time, you're going to see a migration of all of our products that we can put them into this environment because it's just a better way to engineer. Now, the last disruptive trend I want to talk about is big data. Now, big data is a big buzzword, and big data unto itself is pretty useless. Big data with analytics is extraordinarily powerful. Analytics will become the killer application for big data. Now, the problem with all of this big data, we go back to the same situation you have with all of these mobile devices, is you have to manage it. How do you secure all of that data? How do you secure all of the applications hitting that data? This becomes a pretty big problem for a CIO. It's a natural extension of what we've already been doing. And we've been doing this for some of the world's largest companies. I think that this is what's going to be one of the killer applications, and we don't even know the true business value that we're going to realize from this. One of our customers happens to be one of the largest financial institutions in the world. To give you an idea of what we do every day, and just picture the amount of data we collect in making this happen. I get exhausted just reading this slide. Every single day, we do 600 million mainframe records. We close 380 million trading transactions. We process 42 million authentications, and we monitor 100,000 devices. Imagine taking all of the data of those transactions, putting it into a Hadoop database, and being able to slice and dice it, giving it to a data scientist. They're going to be able to figure out different patterns. They're going to be able to figure out how to run these things more efficiently. Another great example that our team on the security side is working on right now has to do with fraud. Using SiteMinder and CloudMinder, we're collecting an awful lot of data of how people use applications. And we're one of the biggest providers of security for ATMs. So imagine you put your card into an ATM in one city. Transaction processes, and a few seconds later, the same account gets hit from a PC buying a book on Amazon or some type of a movie on Amazon. Having that come into a database where the fraud detection can take a look and say, hey, how does one person buy 2 things at the same time from 2 geographic locations, and kicking that up to the fraud squad. These are the kinds of things that we were not able to do just a couple of years ago. These are the kinds of things we can do today. This is where big data is really going to drive home the kind of applications and the business value that's going to make a difference. Now, in closing, one of the things I want to be crystal clear about is expectations. I want to make sure you understand the expectations of me, the expectations of CA, and I want to be very clear about it. First of all, we are going to amp up the organic engineering in our company. I told you earlier we have 6,000 people, we spend $600 million a year. That's an awful lot of money. If you take a look at what I showed you with DevOps, adopting those types of technologies, we should be able to have those people and those dollars spent more effectively, more efficiently. I think we've got some of the best engineers in the world. I want to get these products out quicker. I want to use a SaaS platform to do it. I want to have the relationship with you where you realize that the engineering coming out of CA is not only best in class, it's the absolute best in the world. Secondly, we've been in business for a long time, 37 years. We've built an awful lot of products. You own hundreds of our products. I'm not convinced that we've been as good at making sure you're getting the value out of the products as we should be. So at no cost to you, we're going to have our professional services organization contact you and do an inventory of the products you have. Understand if they're configured to drive the maximum amount of value. Products that you haven't implemented, we want to talk to you about getting those products into production. it's hard to get any business value if the product is not in production. Which leads me to my number one pet peeve about the software industry, is old releases. If we're going to drive this organic engine and innovate and bring new products to market, we have to get you off of old releases. This is a big problem. You don't like old releases. I don't like old releases. I want to tackle it. I want to work with you. I want to get with our teams and your teams and find a way to get you from where you are on whatever release to where we're innovating. At the end of the day, it really comes down to the question I asked earlier. These things are going to happen. Well, you have to decide, do you want to drive these changes or do you want to be driven with them? We want to help you go big. We want to help drive these changes. We want to be held accountable. Have a great conference. Thank you very much.